What's going on, guys? This is Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ, and it is week 2. Week 1 was exciting. Football is back. You got the Browns and Steelers coming out with a tie. You got my Rams showing Raiders that they are still below us, and John Gruden is stuck in 2002. Now, Falcons, Eagles game was pretty good. Eagles coming out with the dub. Really surprised me how Matt Ryan struggled back there, but it's only week 1. We're into week 2, so maybe there'll be some type of progression. But this episode, we're going to be talking about start and sits for tomorrow's games. I know I missed the Thursday night game. I'll try to do like start and sits weekly on, right before the Thursday game, but I'm back on my work schedule, so it's kind of hard right now. But I'll probably try to sneak in a video right before Thursday night, probably on just those 2 teams, on a couple of guys that are on the teams that are playing. Now that's out of the way, let's get into this episode with the start and sit week 2. Let's get right into the episode. So let's jump right into it. Start and sit. We're going to be talking about Cooper Kupp for the LA Rams. He got his matchup this week against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Cooper Kupp definitely looks like a guy I'm going to be starting this week. He had 9 targets against the Raiders, and he had 5 catches, 2 drop passes, which isn't terrible. It's basically everybody's like Game 5 preseason, so getting the rust off. He didn't play too much in the preseason, so the drop passes I'm fine with. I'm not really too worried about that. Goff looks like he's going to be leaning on Cooper Kupp to be his #1 target. Yet he saw 27% of the targets between him, Robert Woods, and Brandon Cooks, and the tight ends and Gurley. Now, through the whole offense, I feel like McVay's going into this where he's going to try to play the jet sweep where Cooper Kupp will be involved, and Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks. So that's even more of an opportunity for Cooper Kupp to get the touches, to get into the end zone and get the touchdown. So this week I love his matchup. I'm definitely going to start Cooper Kupp against the Cardinals, and it's a home game, so I'm definitely feeling good about Cooper Kupp this week. Next up, we got Quincy Enunwa from the Jets. Now, Sam Darnold looked pretty good against the Lions. Now, he threw that pick 6 the first play, but it looks like it didn't really faze him. He kind of brushed it off and finished the game up with an excellent performance. Now, Quincy Enunwa was his #1 target. Quincy saw about 47% of the targets there. He had 1 touchdown. He was targeted 10 times, and he caught the ball 6 times. So that's pretty good. I'm looking to see their, production go up with each other, build that chemistry to where Quincy Enunwa will be the definite #1 there. So Darnold can lean on him to bail him out, to see him in the end zone, which did concern me really in the red zone and the end zone. He was only targeted once from Darnold, but it was different situations that were going on there. They had the lead and so on and so on. Isaiah Crowell in the backfield running the ball with Bilal Powell. So different things were going on in that game plan. Teams do different game plans from week to week. Certain teams that they're going up against. So this week they have Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins defense is nothing to really be slept on, but I'm definitely starting Quincy this week. It looks good. Him and Darnold are building up a great chemistry. Now, it's only week 2, so there's not much to go off of. Not really to say that he will go off and be your wide receiver 1 every weekend and week out. But I definitely like the matchup that he has this week against the Dolphins. So Quincy Enunwa, I am starting. Next up, we got Devonta Freeman. I know he's already rolled out for Sunday's game, but I just wanted to mention that even before his knee injury was confirmed, I was sitting him regardless. I wasn't starting him, I was sitting him. He didn't look too good against the Eagles. I know it's week 1. Again, I'm going to keep probably saying this, but it didn't look like he was on his A game. It looked like Tevin Coleman was the better back, the bigger size back that can take that workload. And it looks like this week that since Tevin Coleman will get the start, it will show that he could be used more than being the shadow of Devonta Freeman, you know what I mean? I know they split, but they paid Devonta Freeman the big bag, and he's not really showing that he can be worth that money. Now, Tevin Coleman's in the contract year, so I know he's going to shine. I know he's going to want to be hungry to get his own team that he can run that workload to be the workhorse. So I definitely was sitting Devonta Freeman this week regardless of his knee injury. He didn't look too good. Some guys came out with 8 points out of this guy, and some guys are sitting at 0-1 maybe because of this guy. So I'm not too comfortable with Devontae Freeman being off. He needs to get it back together after he's healthy with his knee, and we'll see where that goes. Next up, start or sit Nelson Agholor for the Eagles. Now, he looked good last week. He had 8 catches on 10 targets, but he only had 33 yards. He didn't really have a big game, but for PPR owners and PPR guys, that was great for them. He came out 13 points, but he was targeted 0 times in the red zone, 0 times in the end zone, which is it's not too concerning being that it's so early in the season, but I would like to see Nelson to get at least 1 touchdown out of his 8 catches. Next up, start or sit Nelson Agholor. Now, Nelson had 8 catches on 10 targets, but he only had 33 yards. So for PPR owners, he came out with 13 points, so that looked good. But he was targeted 0 times in the red zone and 0 times in the end zone. So that's not really too concerning now, being that it's early in the season, but I would like to see him be more of a red zone, end zone threat, so we can get some touchdowns out of this guy. All these catches, but no touchdowns. So it would be nice to see if they can get him some touchdowns. So hopefully in Sunday's game, we'll see him scoring touchdowns. Being that Jeffrey's out for extended more time with his injury, it was originally he was going to come back after week 2, but it looks like he's seeing a little bit more time. So him being out only makes Nelson Agholor the #1 wide receiver. I know Mike Wallace is there. He's supposed to be the deep threat, but they threw the ball to him 3 times and it was broken up every time. So he really didn't see much out of him. Not really any serviceable, noticeable things to talk about with Mike Wallace. So I like the matchup this week with the Buccaneers with Nelson. So I looked at him to catch at least 8 of those balls again on 10, 11 targets, and at least let's get 1 touchdown out of this guy. But I'm starting Nelson Agholor. I'm pretty confident that he could put up the points in my PPR leagues. So start or sit on Royce Freeman. Now, I was pretty disappointed to see that Royce Freeman didn't really have the week 1 that we all were hoping, being that this guy Lindsey out of nowhere just blew up, and it was kind of just like, whoa, where'd this guy come from? So right now it's looking like Denver's having a running back committee, so it depends on what their game plan going into Oakland is. Oakland defense doesn't really have the pass rush threat. They lost Khalil Mack. Their corners are sus. So it's kind of like their game plan might be to go with Lindsey with his pass catching ability. Now we're all hoping Royce Freeman can live up to the hype that he had before the draft, but right now I'm probably going to sit Royce Freeman. I'm not going to gamble that, being that Denver right now has that committee. It's still hope. It's week 2, so it's nothing to really panic about. Don't go dropping him or anything like that. Keep him stashed, but at best he could be a flex, but that's only if you want to gamble with him not getting the touches that he needs to show that he could be that running back 1 there. Again, I like the matchup against Oakland, but I'm unfortunately going to have to sit Royce Freeman. Next up, start or sit. This one's pretty obvious. James Conner. Now, he had 135 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 57 yards catching, so it looks like he's filling that Le'Veon Bell role in just right. Now, it's obvious that he will be the starter week in, week out, long as Bell is out. James Conner looked great against the Browns, but the Browns will be Browns, so I'm still not a full believer that he could take the spot of Le'Veon Bell. He's no Le'Veon Bell. Let's get that straight and clear now, but the Browns will be Browns, so it's not really like he was facing like a really top 10 defense, so it's kind of like, alright, ease the brakes. He is no Le'Veon Bell, but I will start him this week. Start or sit. The next up we're going to be talking about is Emmanuel Sanders. His Oakland matchup this week looks promising. He put up 135 yards on the Seahawks. So just imagine what's going to happen to Oakland with their suspect corners. Now, Emmanuel Sanders looks like he is the focal point of that offense. Look like Case Keenum trusts him. Looks like they're building some type of chemistry. So I expect Sanders to just light it up tomorrow against the Raiders. He's a definite start for me. He was targeted 11 times and he caught 10 of those passes. So that only means that he is a trustworthy receiver for Case Keenum. So that chemistry is only going to build. Now, he's not a starter I will put in and week out. It'll all depend on the matchups. Now, I'm a little shaky, not full believer of Case Keenum, but I'm just holding my tongue until I see different. Next up, start or sit Christian McCaffrey. This should be a no-brainer, people. We are starting him every single week. Now, Ron Rivera confirmed that he wants McCaffrey to run the ball 15 to 20 times on top of his pass catching ability workload already. So that only means McCaffrey's ceiling is going to keep going up and up and up. Now, I know CJ Anderson is there, but it doesn't look like they're going to be using him as much. They're going to be using him more of like situational, like 3rd and 3 type plays, but it looks like they're using McCaffrey on the goal line other than CJ Anderson, which I'm very surprised of. But CJ Anderson's no water boy there. He's coming off a 1,000-yard season, so it's only week 2, so I'm sure they're going to try to work him into it. But McCaffrey is definitely a start week in and week out. No questions. Next up, we're going to be talking about Alfred Morris for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the old guy looked it bad. He had 12 rushes for 36 yards, and it just didn't look like it worked out for him. But it's still early, but I'm hoping that he can make a difference between the splits with him and Matt Breida, being that he's the veteran back. We all hope that Morris can go off like his back in the days, but the guy's older now. I just want him to at least try to get touchdowns on the goal line. I want him to at least try to catch some balls out the backfield to show some type of production, because it's really bad that they lost Jerick McKinnon, which is a terrible loss, but what can you do? You gotta keep going. Injuries happens. But Alfred Morris this week, I am definitely sitting. Next up, we're gonna be talking about Jordy Nelson. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna add Amari Cooper, Derek Carr, and Marshawn Lynch to that. Jared Cook probably looks like the only one on that offense you could possibly start, but I am sitting everyone else. Jordy Nelson is old and washed. Not saying that he is terrible, but he's just old and washed a little bit. He doesn't look like the guy he was 2 years ago. Now, Amari Cooper, he had the big hype with Gruden. He was promised to see the ball more. He was promised to be the deep threat and all this stuff to be the focal point in Gruden's offense, and it's not looking like it's panning out to be that. With Derek Carr looking shaky in the pocket with a pass rush, this matchup he has coming up against Denver, it doesn't look like that's going to change. Their pass rush defense is going to be all over Derek Carr. Now, I personally don't feel comfortable starting anybody on the Raiders right now going into this matchup. So if you don't want to get burned, I'm barely starting Marshawn Lynch. He'll probably be my flex. I'm hoping you guys picked up Jared Cook in the free agency waiver wire or whatever, but we're going to have to just see how it goes week 2 for the Raiders. Next up, start or sit Allen Robinson for the Bears. Now, he didn't look too bad in his game. Now, Trubisky looked like he was way more comfortable in the pocket than he was last year with a year under his belt. He looked good. It looks like that offense is growing. Now, the offense is great, but I'm just not liking the matchup against the Seahawks they got going on this week. I'm looking for the Seahawks to bounce back, get their act together. You know, they took a sorry loss to Case Keenum, but Trubisky's going to have to bring his A game again if he's going to want to get Allen Robinson the ball. But unfortunately, I'm going to sit Allen Robinson. He only had 4 catches last week, but it looks like they're going to try to get Tariq Cohen going and Jordan Howard going. So with that double threat, that dual threat there, I pretty much see them running the ball more this game. Next up, we're going to be talking about Adrian Peterson, start or sit. This guy had 70 yards on 2 catches, and he had 100+ yards on 25+ touches. AP is looking like his old self. Now, it doesn't look like the guy's aging. I am starting him this week against the Colts. Now, Joe Mixon put up 95 yards on the Colts last week. I'm thinking AP can put up way more yards than that, have 2 touchdowns. It looks like he is showing that he can even be the pass catcher back there with Chris Thompson back there also. So it looks like AP is the dual threat. I'm starting him tomorrow for the simple fact that you got AP in, what, probably like the 10th, 11th round or even later. Some guys are telling me they got him off the waiver wire. Now, that's a waiver wire / late round gem steal there. Now, I'm starting this guy off the fact that he will be my flex, because I'm sure guys secured running back 1, running back 2, and now you got AP in the stash. That looks like a great combo to be your flex or your RB2 or whatever the case you want to put him. Now, AP, I'm starting him tomorrow and week after that and a week after that. This guy does not age. I am all in on AP. I know what I said in the preseason video, but it was against third string guys. So I'll take that L and I'll shut my mouth about AP because the guy does not age. Next up, we're going to be talking about start or sit Leonard Fournette. Now, he's not expected to play tomorrow, so even before that news, I was sitting this guy with his hamstring sitting floating that he is probably going to be dealing with for the next couple of weeks, but I wasn't going to start him because I would hate to get burned putting him in and then he's out by the second quarter, and now you're sitting there like, damn, I should have played somebody else. I should have played TJ Yeldon. So being that he has this injury just floating around, I'm not too comfortable having him play all 4 quarters for me. Now, a lot of guys are coming in to week 2 0-1, so I would hate for you to make that mistake to start him even next week to week 3 and he's still dealing with this. Who wants to get burned for that? No, not me. I know not you, so why even take the chance? So it needs to be watched on this hamstring injury with him. So TJ Yeldon definitely looks like the start. He's catching balls at the backfield. He's getting the early down plays. He's getting goal line plays. So he's getting into the end zone. So definitely TJ Yeldon's the start for me. I was sitting Leonard Fournette regardless if he was playing tomorrow. So that wraps up this week's episode of Start and Sit. I'll return next Saturday for another Start and Sit video. I want you guys to leave a comment below, like and subscribe for me, share the video. I appreciate all the love I've been getting for the channel, so I want you guys to continue doing what you're doing so I can keep doing what I'm doing, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ. Peace.